everyone, welcome back to my vlog. I'm Robin, or Hobbit's Reading List, and this week we're really just trying to catch up. Last week I was on vacation, so I didn't do much of anything, and this week I'm just trying to get back into the swing things, as well as read as much as possible. So, speaking of reading as much as possible, I technically started this vlog yesterday. I knew that whatever I read yesterday was going to be in this vlog, even though it's now Monday. But I spent most of yesterday in a pool. I do have some awkward sunburns, mainly like my forearm. Yeah, you can kind of see it. Yeah, isn't that a weird placement? Because I was floating, I had like a little thing, and so my arms were up like this holding my Kindle. And apparently I didn't put enough sunblock on my forearms. I really did like my shoulders and my chest and like the back of my neck, not my forearms. That was my mistake. But I read, I would say probably about half of a book called Wild Heart by, I think it's Spencer Spears. It is the first book in a series, the Murphy Brothers series, all of whom are gay, and it follows them through meeting their partners. So this first one follows Deacon. He's the oldest, and he runs and owns this family, he runs and owns this like bed and breakfast on this island. I think it's like Summersea. Yeah, Summersea, out, it's like off the coast of Georgia. And his parents had bought and started working on this bed and breakfast. I keep wanting to say Airbnb. It's not Airbnb, it's bed and breakfast. Or a hotel, whichever. I'm not sure what it would classify as more. But his parents started it, and unfortunately they got into a car accident when he was 19, and so he has been taking care of it ever since, as well as his brothers. And because of some situations with his mom's parents, he did not come out. His two brothers have, but Deacon is convinced that he can't come out, otherwise he will like lose everything, or it will be disrespectful to the people who have been hurt by him, until of course he meets Mal. Now Mal also has some trauma. He has grown up in the foster system, and he also just left like a very abusive partner. It's really weird. Why is that happening? Okay. I had to change the lighting just because it was like washing me out for some reason. But so Mal is escaping this like abusive ex-partner that he had, and he finds himself on Summersea. He meets Deacon. There's an immediate attraction, but Deacon also sort of, is just a good guy. He wants to help. He gives Mal a room, and then he finds out that Mal is actually a chef, and Deacon's aunt, who had been the cook at the hotel or bed and breakfast, just injured herself, and so it works out great timing wise, and of course it allows them to get closer and bond. So I read about half of it yesterday, and then I read, I want to say another like 25% or so this morning. I'm really enjoying it, for as angsty as it sounds, because the backstories are very angsty, but their relationship is actually like very cute. They get along very well. There's lots of like jokes and teasing, and honestly it's kind of adorable. So I'm hoping to have it finished today. We will see, because I have to go to Chicago, so I will also be starting a new audiobook I will listen to Just by Looking at Him by, I believe it's Ryan O'Connell. But I have like an hour in between like the two meetings I'm going to Chicago for, so I don't know if I'll finish it there. I doubt it. But I'm hoping I can finish it tonight when I get home. That is about it. Now, I have to try to film for, you know, one of the 2 Stephen King books that I read yesterday, or last week, and try to get that done. So, I will talk with you all later. Okay, so I have a lot to talk about. I started this on Monday, and I already mentioned that I had been like halfway through Wild Heart by Spencer Spears. I finished that. I finished it, I want to say Tuesday morning. Yeah. And it was really good. I really liked it. I think I already talked about how much I liked it. It continued the like 3rd act breakup wasn't like drawn out. I was gonna say like overdrawn, but that's not the word I wanted. It wasn't like super drawn out, which is good because like I don't like when 3rd act breakups last like multiple chapters, because I'm just like, okay, I get it, but like can we just have the happy ever after? So I was glad that it didn't last like super long, and it was also like it made a lot of sense when it happened, and the conclusion was very satisfying. So yeah, I really liked it. I'm very like pleasantly surprised that a book that I got free off of Kindle was so good. Like, I give it 4.5 stars. So that is awesome. I then, okay, so I also mentioned on Monday that I was driving to Chicago and I was going to start listening to Just by Looking at Him, which I did. I listened to, wasn't very much. I want to say like maybe 15 minutes at 1.3 speed, so probably like 23 minutes of the beginning of the book. I just was not mixing well with the narrator, who is also the author. So I'm not DNFing. I'm going to try to read it physically and see if that mixes better with me. But yeah, just it felt like he was overacting. And I don't know if he has previous experience of being a narrator, but it felt like he was just like doing so much that it was just like I couldn't focus on the story, because I'm like, oh, everything is so big with you. Okay. So I stopped that and I pivoted to the audiobook for Fall for Him, which is a queer romance that I got beginning of May, end of April, somewhere around there. And I found I was really excited about it because I'm just like I don't know why, but something about the premise was like, oh, this is gonna be amazing. I'm really enjoying it. I'm about 30% in. And Fall for Him is about these 2 neighbors. They live vertical neighbors. I don't want to say live on top of each other. And the story starts like right at the action of Dylan, who he's such a cinnamon roll. He has ADHD. He has this like reputation in his family because he was undiagnosed for so long of like being like a scatterbrain and being irresponsible. He is like medicated now, but you know, there's still some things that he gets distracted easily, and that's fine. But the story starts with him accidentally flooding his kitchen, which causes a hole in the kitchen, which causes him to fall into the hole onto his downstairs neighbor's bed. And Derek, said neighbor, has always like not liked Dylan because Derek was friends and also somewhat lovers with someone that Dylan had previously dated, and Derek has been told a different version of the date than what Dylan remembers. I'm inclined to believe Dylan's version of the date. So, but they've never gotten along, and then this happens, and so there's some like animosity as they're trying to figure out, and neither of them want to tell like the HOA or the building or anything, Dylan's uncle owns the building, and Dylan is staying there to do renovations on his uncle's apartment. And now Derek's. So Dylan doesn't want anyone to know because he doesn't want that to add to his reputation of being like a screw up. Derek doesn't want anyone to know because he doesn't want anyone to discover that he has a large breed dog staying with him. And so they agree that like they will live together. Dylan will do the repairs and stuff, and and just no one will know, and no feelings will develop. Yes, he will. So yeah, I'm about 30% in. I'm really enjoying it. It's very cute. It's very funny, but it also has deeper moments. And I'm just waiting. Hopefully, I'll get to it today for like when they have like a serious conversation about like their perceptions of each other, because their perceptions are so interesting. And I'm like, you guys just need to talk it out and clear the air, and then you can like fall in love. So I am really enjoying that as well. I'm excited to listen to it on my way to work today. And I've done a lot of reading in the past 3 days, which is great. So after I finished Wild Heart yesterday, I picked up Go Luck Yourself, which is on my TBR for the month. It's also a sequel to Nightmare Before Christmas, and in this world, it follows the royalty of holidays. And so each holiday has a royal family, a royal court that makes the holiday happen and promotes joy throughout the world. And it's such an interesting world. I've never read anything like it. Go Luck Yourself is following Chris, who is the younger brother to Cole, who was in Nightmare Before Christmas. And so Chris is the Prince of Christmas, and he's trying to support his older brother as he takes on more Santa duties. But they discover that someone has been stealing some of Christmas's joy. And it sounds so weird to explain if you haven't read this series. And so it is agreed that Chris will go and investigate who seems like the most likely culprit, which is St. Patrick's Day. So they do, and Chris finds out that the person he's been like beefing with at Cambridge, where he goes to school, is the Prince of St. Patrick's Day. So there's this like tension between them that's, you know, part of it is just like annoyance and frustration, part of it is just sexual tension, and their relationship develops like, it's just really, really well done. I couldn't stop smiling when I was reading it, or like when, you know, a situation was happening, like I would like frown. Like I was very reactive to it. So I really enjoyed it. I finished it this morning. I read so much of it yesterday, like before I went to work, in between meetings and stuff, that by the time I went to bed at like midnight, I only had like 50 pages left. So I read that this morning before I got ready, and I gave it 5 stars. I thought it was so good. And I didn't look, but if Nightmare Before Christmas isn't a 5-star, it was probably like a 4.5, because I remember really loving that as well. So I might have to look into more of Sara Raasch's like other books, because these are the only 2 in this world, but she has another one of like wizards, I think. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend this series, especially if you can read it like around the time of year that it's set, of like Christmas and St. Patrick's Day. So yeah, I'm hoping that she'll write more, but I don't know. There is a potential for another couple that is sapphic, but who knows? I would love to see it. So in the 4 days since I started this vlog, I've finished 2 books. That's pretty good. I was gonna pick up the P.G. Wodehouse book that I have to read, but I could only find a paperback version, although my dad says that there's a Kindle version, so I don't know. But my next physical book is going to be Flowers for the Sea, which is like very short. I think it's less than 150 pages, so I should also finish that this week. So I'm on a roll. I'm gonna get caught up on my reading goal. Probably not this week. I'm not gonna set the expectation for myself, but I am making progress. So I'm gonna let you go and continue reading and trying to keep my mood up, because the last 2 days my mood has not been great. It's probably why I was reading so much. Okay, I finished another book, which is awesome. I did not read anything yesterday, but today on the way home from work, I finished listening to Fall for Him, and I'm a little disappointed, I'm not gonna lie. I think this book ended up on my TBR because it was like my most anticipated LGBT read. I think that was the prompt I was trying to fill. And the premise was so strong. And okay, let me say, I did like this book, just not as much as I thought I was going to. And that's the disappointing thing. Like, I felt like, I've already talked about what the premise is. I felt like the story should have focused more on like the beginning of Derek and Dylan living together, which, by the way, having two male names that start with a D and have them be in a relationship and only hearing it got very confusing sometimes. Sometimes I lost track of the scene because I was trying to figure out who was saying what, and the different narrators, I felt like, changed the voices that they were using for each character. It got confusing sometimes. So I'm sure that didn't help. But I felt like it should have focused more on like the beginning and like the relationship development, because looking back on it, it felt like they were like snarky and a little antagonistic with each other, and like it was hard and there was misunderstandings, and then boom, they both had feelings together and they were in love. And like, I don't mind that they were in love. They were very cute. They were very cute together. But I love that development. I love the recognition of like, oh, you're not a huge asshole. Or like, oh, I was wrong about you. Like, and they had those, but it just felt very sudden. Like, it felt like it happened like one day when Dylan is sort of shut down and he's like, all right, well, I mean, everything I try to do that, like, try to be nice to you and help you out, you snap at me for, so I'm just gonna be polite and cordial. And that was what pushed Derek to sort of stop being an asshole. And like, I get that, but it just felt so sudden. So I don't know. And I felt like there's a lot of focus on like their own like personal like traumas and insecurities, which is fine. I have no issue with that. But it just, again, it felt just very sudden in their relationship. Like, all of a sudden, they each knew how to take care of the other person. And so, I don't know. Looking back on it, it felt very abrupt and not as developed as I would have liked. I did enjoy, well, maybe not enjoy, I did appreciate the ADHD rep from Dylan. Felt like it was pretty accurate, if a little extreme, but I get it. Like, not everyone's ADHD functions like mine. Like, I don't get into those periods of hyperfocus where I don't do anything except like the thing I don't get that often, and Dylan has the type of ADHD where he falls into hyperfocus a lot, which is good and bad, obviously. And I did appreciate the representation from Derek's perspective of growing up in like an Asian household, and the idea of like, essentially after his father died, he held this belief that was like directly told to him that like he is the man of the house now, he is responsible for his mother and his sisters, and he has to take care of things. And he did that, but to an unhealthy extent. And there are some like repercussions for that, which I appreciated seeing. So I thought it was very interesting. There were a lot of things I liked, but the relationship, the thing that I'm reading the book for, just felt a little sudden. That's just how it felt for me. So because of that, I ended up giving it 3.5 stars, which is why I said I'm disappointed, because I thought it was gonna be a 5-star. But what can you do, you know? So that, again, that's all I've read since the last time I updated you. And then Sunday I will probably start listening to Time and Time Again, which is a sapphic time loop story. Yeah, that's what I got. So I'm gonna go and find a snack because I'm hungry. Okay, so I'm gonna make this quick, mainly because I feel like I don't have much to say. Okay, maybe I do have some stuff. I started listening to Time and Time Again, which is a, like, sapphic time loop story. I think I'm about, I want to say, like, halfway. We're following Phoebe, who is a senior. She's plus size. She's nominally Jewish. I don't think she follows a religion, but her father's Jewish, her mother is Catholic, I believe. They're divorced. And she found herself stuck in a time loop. So by the time the story starts, she has been reliving August 6th, which is just a random day. There's nothing special about it. She's been reliving it about 25 times. And so we get to know a little bit of her backstory. And then, like, on the, like, 28th or 29th, August 6th, she gets hit by a car. It was a bump. But the person driving the car is her, like, one of her ex-friends. And that action somehow gets Jess pulled into the time loop as well. And so where I am now, they have been in the same time loop together for like a week. Jess thinks that Phoebe needs to have more fun because Phoebe had gotten into this, like, routine where she was trying to, like, research and stuff. And Jess was kind of like, well, that isn't working for you, so, like, let's actually, like, have fun when there are, like, no consequences. Which is fair. So they're getting to know one another. They're starting to reconnect. I'll be very interested. Phoebe acknowledged that, like, she has a crush on Jess. And so I'll be very interested to see how, like, that relationship develops, because right now there's, like, maybe some flirting, but they're just getting to know one another again. So I think it's really interesting. And then I also started reading, was it Tough Cute Omega or something? I'll put the thing up. So this is one of the Kindle books that I got while I was on vacation for free. And the writing isn't the best. It's very clear, like, they didn't really have an editor, and, like, so some of the grammar stuff is kind of distracting me because it's like they're, like, missing quotation marks or missing capitalizations or two different characters speaking in the same paragraph. And, like, these are small things, right? And, like, and if this story was phenomenal, I probably wouldn't care. But it's not. Like, so far it's very, like, stereotypical of Omegaverse. You have the big, strong alpha, and then, like, the twink Omega. And, like, and I don't mind that. I like reading Omegaverse, and I don't mind that dynamic, but I want it to be, like, a little something special. And right now it's kind of coming across as, like, very stereotypical for that genre, as well as, like, fated mates, which, again, I don't mind fated mates, but I like fated mates as an avenue for them getting to know one another and deepening their relationship, which I'm 40% in the book, and that hasn't really happened yet. And, like, granted, they haven't acknowledged that they're fated mates, and that's not what it's marketed as, but it's such a, like, instinctual thing in this book that I'm like, okay, you're fated mates. But they're not getting to know one another on a deeper level. And I think I know where the plot is going, and I'm just like, okay. Like, I don't mind, like, I'll finish it, but it's also, I would have wanted more character and relationship development before we got there. So those are sort of my quick thoughts. I am going to wrap this up very quickly because my battery's dying. So I think I did okay with reading this week. I think next week I want to try to make it even better. So leave me a comment if you have read any of these books or you like this video. Also like the video, subscribe and click notification bell, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye!